Well, this is kind of a trick question. Who would you rather have, Jermaine Burton or Arik Gilbert? Right? Really, kind of a the the answer that is not allowed, which is C, both. Um, it's not an allowable answer today. The answer is you would definitely want both, or yes in that case. That's where we're at right now, coming into the 22 season. Let's take an interesting look at both these guys. They do not play the same position anymore. Of course, when Arik Gilbert came to Georgia, he came from LSU and was making a run at playing in the 2021 season at receiver. He was much smaller coming into the year. He's getting himself right now for the 2022 season. I don't think he's going to go back to receiver. I don't think. Now, I don't know. We'll just have to see. And it's important to remember that Gilbert did not play this past season. So I'm comparing 2020 numbers to 2022. With that said, in 2020, Gilbert had more receptions for fewer yards. So 10 yards of reception, 35 receptions, 368 yards with 2 touchdowns. Now, he was playing tight end at LSU, and this is an LSU that played multiple quarterbacks that season. Georgia did too. And then for Jermaine Burton, he had 26 receptions for 497 yards and 5 touchdowns with a 19-yard average. Of course, a huge reception against Michigan, and I don't think that's in the book actually. There were so many scores, but that was the one that put the ball game away for the Dogs. Was well, I don't know what put the ball game away for Georgia. If you want to pick up DAWGSTRUCTION, make sure you're clicking the link down below before we have to go to yet another printing for this thing. Jermaine's best performance in terms of receptions came against Vanderbilt in that just blistering performance against the Commodores. In terms of yardage, it was against Mizzou. That was 76 yards, including a 47-yarder. He had, well, no, I misspoke just now. He had a 73-yard touchdown reception against UAB from Stetson Bennett, I believe, in the second game of the season. Jermaine he had a 57-yard touchdown against Michigan. That is not nothing, let me tell you. Very, very explosive. And it's a little bit apples to oranges here because they're not the same type of player. I mean, Burton is a guy that can get behind the defense and in a way that I'm not seeing Arik Gilbert do that a lot. Doesn't mean he can't. Let's keep in mind too that two, four, six. Gilbert only played 8 games in 2020, so that was 35 receptions over 8 games. That's a lot of catches. His worst performance was a 2 reception game against Carolina. He had multiple 6 reception games, multiple he had 4 games where he had at least 5 catches. Those came against Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, and Mizzou. So those were all big game performances for him in those games, 55 yards or more, except against Alabama. Alabama may have been trying to just say, hey, Gilbert's not beating us. But who would you rather have, I think, depends on who you are. And in Georgia's case, part of me thinks they would almost rather have Burton. I'm not sure, though, because, there's a lot of, how do you put it, momentum, or when you talk with people inside the program, they're very confident in AD Mitchell's abilities to go over the top, stretch the field. I don't think you need, proof from me, but I will show it to you that 84 can get down the field pretty good too. Ladd McConkey can really, really run. so can, so can Dominic Blaylock. I mean, they've got guys that are just real weapons on the outside. With so Burton, okay, so naturally Burton's ability to be productive, as it were, whatever you want to call that. I mean, he's not going to get 7 to 8, 6 balls thrown at him a game because A, Georgia doesn't throw like that, and then B, you know, there's other guys that can be their number one receiver because there really isn't a number one receiver necessarily, whatever you want to call it. I think for Jermaine, it was a good move in terms of getting yourself ready for the NFL, for the possibility of the NFL. You go to a more pass heavy uh, uh, program in Alabama at this moment, and you have the possibility to receive more balls. Alabama could use Gilbert right now. I mean, they've got good players everywhere. They do not have someone like him at tight end. They do not. Georgia does. I think a little bit. If you want to kind of go real hot takey on this, it shows that Kirby's recruited better than Nick lately. I don't know how much better, but he's recruited better if you can lose Jermaine Burton and sort of still be in really good position at receiver. That you are adding Gilbert and making your tight end room the best in the country and perhaps the best that the country's seen in a while with Burton, with Bowers, um, Darnell, Washington, and Gilbert. You're talking about some real deal freaks now. I mean, any one of those guys could if they were doing lion's share of being a tight end, you could make the argument that they would be in position to be the best tight end in 2022. They're all at Georgia. I mean, it's insane what they've done on that at that one spot. So who would you rather have? Well, if you're Georgia, I don't know if you wouldn't rather have Burton only because um, guys like that are always a lot of fun to have on the outside. But um, I just I've seen Gilbert play live, and there's just not a lot of people like him. There's just not a lot of people like Gilbert, and even with Bowers being an extremely important and impressive player, Gilbert's going to get his catches, and he's going to make y'all. Well, you saw it during G-Day now a little bit. That's just a little bit of what the guy can do. He is not where he needs to be still, and he's doing that. Now think about that. So you tell me down below who you think you'd rather have, Burton or Gilbert, and we'll talk about it.